Your cat just looked right at you. You called his name. He blinked once, turned his head, and looked away. You don't exist anymore. You have fed this animal. You have bought him 3 beds he has never used. You have moved your legs at 3 in the morning because he was comfortable. And he cannot be bothered to acknowledge you are in the room. Here is the thing scientists figured out that changes everything about what just happened. Your cat heard you. He understood you. He processed your face, your voice, your posture, your emotional state. He knew exactly who you were and what you wanted. And then he chose not to react. That is not indifference. That is one of the most sophisticated social behaviors documented in the animal kingdom. Researchers at the University of Tokyo published a study that tracked how domestic cats respond to their owner's voice versus a stranger's voice. Cats recognize their owner's voice clearly and consistently. Their ear orientation changed. Their pupil size shifted. Their tail moved. The response was measurable and unmistakable. But they didn't come. That gap between recognizing you and responding to you is what this video is about. Because inside that gap is an entire emotional architecture that took decades of behavioral science to begin to understand. Your cat is not ignoring you. Your cat is doing something far more interesting than that. Let's start with what actually happens in your cat's brain when you say his name. The auditory cortex of a domestic cat can distinguish between similar sounds with remarkable precision. Cats can hear frequencies up to 79,000 Hz, nearly 2 octaves above what dogs can hear, and far beyond what any human can produce or detect. Their ears can rotate independently up to 180 degrees, functioning like biological radar dishes pointed at whatever matters most. When you call your cat's name, his auditory system activates. The sound is processed, located in space, compared against memory. Your voice has a profile your cat has been building since the first week you brought him home. The pitch, the cadence, the specific frequencies you produce when you say his name, all of it is stored. He knows it's you before he turns around. The study from Tokyo showed that cats responded to their owner's name calling with subtle orientation cues in over 70% of trials. Ear movements. Pupil dilation. A slight shift in posture. The response was there. It was just quiet. And here is where the science gets complicated in the most interesting way. Dogs have been bred for 10,000 years to respond to human social cues. The selective pressure was enormous and consistent. Dogs that looked at humans, responded to humans, worked with humans, survived. Dogs that didn't. Cats were never bred for that. When cats first began living near humans, roughly 10,000 years ago in the Fertile Crescent, the arrangement was mutual but not coercive. Cats hunted the rodents that gathered near human grain stores. Humans didn't chase them away. Nobody was training anyone. Nobody was selecting for social compliance. What evolved instead was something different. A cat that could read human behavior well enough to live alongside it, without becoming dependent on it. A cat that understood you, tracked you, mapped your patterns, predicted your movements, but maintained what behavioral scientists call behavioral autonomy. Behavioral autonomy means your cat makes decisions based on his own internal calculus, not because you asked. This is the core of what you're seeing when your cat ignores you. He is exercising a decision-making process that is genuinely his. He evaluated the situation. He determined the appropriate response. He responded accordingly. The appropriate response was stillness. Now here is what that stillness actually communicates. There is a concept in feline behavioral science called social referencing. It describes how cats use environmental and social cues to decide whether a situation is safe or threatening. Kittens do this intensely. They watch their mother's reaction to a new object or person before deciding how to respond themselves. Adult cats continue to use this system throughout their lives. Your cat references you constantly. When a new sound enters the house, he looks at you. When something moves outside the window, he looks at you. When a stranger enters, he watches your body language before deciding how to feel. He is using you as an emotional calibration tool. And one of the clearest signals a cat can give that he trusts his environment completely is choosing not to respond to a non-threatening stimulus. When your cat looks at you and looks away, he is completing a social reference loop. He identified you, confirmed there is no threat, confirmed there is no urgent need, and returned to baseline. You were the check-in. You passed. There is a specific behavior that illustrates this more clearly than anything else. Researchers who study feline communication call it the slow blink. A cat that makes eye contact with you and slowly closes and reopens his eyes is not being dramatic. He is performing one of the most deliberate trust signals in the feline behavioral repertoire. In cat social dynamics, prolonged direct eye contact is a challenge. A threat. The slow blink is the deliberate interruption of that stare, a signal that says I see you and I am not threatened and I do not need to be on guard. Cats perform the slow blink almost exclusively toward individuals they feel safe with. If your cat has ever looked at you from across the room and blinked slowly, and you had no idea what that meant, now you know. He was telling you something. You just didn't have the vocabulary yet. But let's go deeper. Because the question is not just why your cat ignores you. The question is what it means that he is there at all. Domestic cats are not obligate social animals. Feral cats can live entirely solitary lives. They hunt alone. They mark territory alone. They do not require social contact to survive or to be behaviorally healthy. This is fundamentally different from dogs, from humans, and from most of the animals we consider companions. And yet your cat lives in your house. He sleeps near you. He follows you from room to room, discreetly, at a distance, but he follows. He positions himself in rooms you are in. He monitors your schedule. Studies using GPS trackers on indoor-outdoor cats show that when their owners are home, the cat's movement patterns change. They stay closer. They make smaller loops. They return more frequently to where the person is. They just don't make a show of it. A 2019 study published in Current Biology used a secure-based test, a methodology developed for measuring human-infant attachment, to measure how cats respond to the presence or absence of their owners in a new environment. The results were striking. The majority of cats showed secure attachment to their owners. When the owner was present, the cat explored more freely. When the owner left, the cat's behavior changed. When the owner returned, the cat relaxed. The cats were attached. The secure base effect was real and measurable. And most of them had never performed a single obvious display of affection in their owner's presence. This is what makes cats uniquely difficult to read. They have genuine emotional attachment. They experience something that functions like comfort and security in your presence. And they express it through behaviors so subtle that most owners completely miss them. Your cat sits in the same room as you. That is a choice. Your cat has the entire house available to him. He chose the room with you in it. Your cat sleeps with his back toward you sometimes. That seems like rejection. It is actually the opposite. A cat sleeps with his back exposed only when he trusts the direction the vulnerability faces. You are not being ignored. You are being trusted to guard the flank. Your cat brings his body close to yours without making contact. A slow approach, a pause, a stillness at a certain proximity. This is not ambivalence. This is a cat measuring the emotional environment before committing, which is exactly what a socially intelligent animal does when the relationship matters. Now let's talk about something that changes how you see the whole thing. The domestic cat is the only species that has successfully integrated into human domestic life while maintaining a genuinely solitary evolutionary baseline. Every other domesticated animal, dogs, horses, cows, sheep, was social to begin with. Domestication worked with the grain of their nature. Herding animals wanted to be in groups. Dogs wanted to be in packs. The transition to living with humans was, at an evolutionary level, not that strange. For cats, it was strange. Completely strange. And they did it anyway. The cat that is sitting across the room from you right now, apparently unconcerned with your existence, is the descendant of an animal that chose proximity. Not because it needed to. Not because it was forced to. Because at some level in its evolutionary history, closeness to you was selected for. Your specific cat, in your specific house, is the endpoint of thousands of years of cats that found something worth staying near. That is not nothing. That is actually enormous. Here is what the behavioral research says about what your cat is doing when he is doing nothing. Resting vigilance. That is the technical term for it. Your cat is at rest, but he is not disengaged. His ears are monitoring the acoustic environment continuously. His nose is processing air movements. His peripheral vision is tracking the edges of the room. He knows where you are without looking at you. This is the state a cat goes into specifically in environments it considers safe. You cannot fake this in a cat. You cannot train it. A cat either feels safe enough to rest vigilantly or it doesn't. If your cat is napping in the same room as you, he has made a security determination about that room that puts you at the center of it. He is ignoring you the way you ignore a comfortable chair. Not because it means nothing. Because it means so much that it doesn't need to be thought about anymore. You have become part of his baseline. His normal. The thing that tells his nervous system that everything is as it should be. There is a study from the University of Lincoln that examined how cats respond to emotional distress in their owners. Cats did respond, not with direct approach necessarily, but with increased proximity, with orientation toward the owner, with quieter, slower behavior. They were picking up on something. They were adjusting. A cat that appears to be ignoring you might be the one that notices first when something is wrong. Your cat learned your breathing patterns while you slept. He knows the difference between your footsteps when you're tired and your footsteps when you're calm. He knows the specific sound your car makes. He knows your schedule better than your calendar does. He has been building this model of you since the day he arrived. And he uses it. When something deviates from that model, when you come home later than usual, when your voice is different, when your posture is wrong, he notices. He may not come running. He may not meow at you. He may just quietly position himself closer than usual and watch. That is care. That is the feline version of checking in. Here is the final thing. There is a moment that happens in every cat owner's life that most of them remember vividly. A moment when the cat, who has been sitting across the room, who has not acknowledged them, who has been doing absolutely nothing in their direction, gets up, crosses the floor, and sits down directly on them. No warning. No negotiation. Just a decision, executed. The cat that just thoroughly ignored you for 45 minutes chose you for this. Not the couch. Not the other chair. Not the floor. You. That choice did not come out of nowhere. It came from a continuous, invisible calculation that your cat has been running since you brought him home. A calculation that weighs safety, attachment, temperature, emotional tone, and something else that science is still working to fully name, something that looks, from the outside, very much like preference. Your cat ignores you because you are not the kind of threat that requires his attention. You are the kind of presence that allows him to rest. That is what this was always about. Tell me in the comments, what does your cat do that you used to think was indifference and now see differently? I read everything.